Really good to have everyone here. Great to have you four here for our panel about hydrogen vehicles for green cities. Mobility for tomorrow actually already happening today. And we will speak about hydrogen vehicles. And it's an amazing technology who give us a lot of opportunities, not only for heavy vehicles, for like long distance, so as well for fleet management in cities, because it's really fast to charge is the wrong word. We will learn about it, but we will fill it, and it's a long distance. And we will actually look at projects who are already happening right now. So it's H2 Move here in Berlin, and learn about what this is behind, how partnerships make it real, what actually hydrogen is, and how actually this four gentlemen are connected to this. And most important, for the next 45 minutes, at the end, we want as well your questions. So as well, in between, if you have a comment or a question, feel free to raise your hand. But at the end, we have as well, I think, 10 minutes time to really hear your thoughts, your questions, and your comments. And my name is Hannah. I'm working usually for Innovation Platform, but will be the host for this amazing four people. And three of them are working in the H2 movement, or H2 Move Berlin. And we have one additional guest from the university area. But let me quickly introduce you to the gentleman. And I will read it, because I don't want to say your titles wrong. So we have Benny, Executive Head of Market Development at Anglo American. Really curious what the mining company is doing in this combination. Then we have Ferry, Franz, Director, Head of Hydrogen Affairs at Toyota Europe. We have Thomas Mohnke, Senior Executive Partner of the SafeDriver Group. And we have Dr. Thomas von Unwerth, if I'm saying it right, Chair of the Advanced Powertrains at the Chemnitz University of Technology. And actually, I would like to start, okay, thank you. Benny, what is a mining company doing in hydrogen, and what is actually H2 Move Berlin? Can I kick off with
I'm
you?
also wondering. No, I'm not. I know very well. Listen, we are Anglo-American. You probably have never heard of us, but we're a big diversified mining company. We mine a little bit of everything you can imagine. Things like iron ore, which makes the steel that will make all these beautiful cars, or copper, where there is a lot in electric vehicles, but also platinum group metals. And platinum group metals are in every car that you drive right now. It's in the back of your car, in your catalytic converter. There are 5 to 6 grams of platinum or palladium, depending on whether you drive a diesel or a petrol or benzene car. And we're talking here about hydrogen. And in order to make green hydrogen, the pure green hydrogen way of making it is splitting water. You remember from your chemistry course H2O, if you split it, it's called electrolysis. And in order to do that, you put green electricity in, you split the water into O, the oxygen and the hydrogen. You do that, in order to do that, you need platinum. Then once you have the hydrogen, to drive a car with it, or heat a home, or power a home with it, in a fuel cell, brennstoffzelle, there is platinum in there as well. So without platinum, no green hydrogen, no fuel cells. That is our link. It's very clear. And we are the largest producer of these metals in the world. And 80% of these metals in the world sit in the ground in South Africa. So it's a very South African story, basically. Thanks.
And we're taking the example of H2 Move Berlin. What can we understand behind this?
Well, listen, we are very interested in pushing the green agenda very clearly, because it will help decarbonize the world, and it will help have demand for our metals, and that's very clear. So we are convinced that fuel cell vehicles are misunderstood and not known very well. Most people that I speak to say that they think hydrogen cars, they burn hydrogen instead of diesel or petrol. When I tell them, no, it's a battery car, it's like a Tesla. It's exactly the same. It's just a better battery. It's a battery that you can charge in 3 minutes. Then they're all surprised. And these are car guys. These are the guys that read automotive and sport, etc. Even they don't know. And so we are very convinced that this is like a sleeping beauty that is there with great cars like the Mirai. And we want to push them and help them come in the public eye so that people can see the advantages of this technology.
Nice. And this is the reason you teamed up. Maybe question to you guys. Anyone have a hydrogen car here? Who was good in chemics and can explain what hydrogen is? Thomas, can you help us?
I try, I do my very best. So as long as I'm teaching hydrogen and fuel cells, maybe from chemistry, you perhaps might know that hydrogen is a gaseous energy carrier. It's transparent, you can't see it as air. It's very simple. You can smell it. So there's it's a gas, but an energy carrier. And if you split hydrogen into its core components, into protons and electrons, you get some electricity because floating electrons are an electric current. That's quite simple. So you can use hydrogen to store energy in form by electrolyzers. As already said, if you have an electrolyzer, there are different ones you find nowadays, PEM electrolyzers, high temperature electrolyzers, so different types of electrolyzers. And electrolyzers, by the way, was developed by Johann Ritter in 1800, so it's not a new technology. It's quite old and well known. And you can do electrolyzers and simply split water into hydrogen. You know, water is H2O, so you can split it into H2 and O. So you have oxygen, you can use it for medical applications, for whatever. You need hydrogen or oxygen all over the world for many applications, and you can use hydrogen. And hydrogen is then, as you need energy for the electrolyzers, an energy carrier. It carries somehow energy, and that's a big advantage. As a gaseous energy carrier, you can store it and you can transport it in high amounts. And that's the difference between to electric energy. You can also store and transport electric energy, but not in that high amounts. That's the difference. And that's then the difference between an electric and a hydrogen car. It's quite similar. You also have an electric drive, you have an electric motor, so it's an electric car, and you have a battery as well, a quite small one. The Toyota, for example, I drive a Mirai my own for 2 years now. It has a battery of 1.2 kilowatt hours, so quite small for buffering recuperated energy while braking. So you get back the braking energy, it's very efficient. And then you have an additional energy converter on board. And this energy converter is the fuel cell. And the fuel cell then, and that's the most interesting point, then regenerates water. And the byproduct is electricity and heat. So you can gain heat and electricity and you reproduce the water. So it's a sustainable technology also. You split water into hydrogen and oxygen and you combine it again together to water and you don't lose anything. And that's a very interesting point. Of course, therefore, you need a lot of components. We're working together with many industrial partners in Chemnitz and Saxony with our hydrogen cluster to work on serious components for these technologies. It's not that mature like a combustion engine, because we developed combustion engines now, also Toyota did, for 150 years. And the fuel cell, it's quite in its childhood. So we have a lot of optimization potential. But that's a very simple explanation what hydrogen is and what hydrogen can do. And by the way, hydrogen can not only propel cars, hydrogen can, as already said, hydrogen can also heat homes. You can burn it again to heat homes. You can use the electricity from a fuel cell to heat a home. You can use it for steel industry to produce steel, direct oxidation of steel, of Fa2O3. You can have it from, it's a multivalent energy carrier. That's the scientific word for that. A multivalent energy carrier. You can do sector coupling. You can do with a hydrogen backbone net over Europe. You can transport hydrogen from wherever on the world it's generated. In Canada with water energy, for example, you can transport it for $2 or even less to Europe, then use it here, and you regain water, electricity, and heat. And that's an amazing thing from my point of view.
Sounds like a solution for greener cities and a good way to a sustainable future. From news or so on, you see hydrogen trucks, and this is information, but we talk about future mobility today. And maybe going to you, Thomas, or from Thomas to Thomas, in the cities as well, there are already passenger cars around in the fleet management to transport people from A and B, and you took the step to say, I want to do it in the hydrogen way. So what was your decision to go in this direction, but maybe a second as well, how are your drivers experience it, and as well the customers?
Thank you very much. I'm convinced that hydrogen is a fantastic technology for cars, even for smaller cars. And to introduce you to my industry, I am in the taxi industry for about 47 years right now. And when I started 47 years ago, we had only diesel cars. I had hundreds of diesel cars, thousands of diesel cars. And now we are using in my company hydrogen cars for the last 2 years already. Just to make sure you understand why it's important in our industry, we call us heavy user. It's so important that we use emissions-free technologies. We are driving per day, 50,000 times around the world with taxi cars in Germany. 50,000 times.
Not only you.
And this is not only our industry. We have 100,000 cars, and the quantity of cars with emission-free is by 1% now. And this is the reason why I am here, because I am very, very convinced that we really need fast to make sure that this quantity of kilometers will be driven by emissions-free cars. To make understand why we do not like to work in our industry with battery electric cars. Battery electric cars are good, and we try them and we use them. But the problem of a battery electric car is always you need to charge the car. And if you use a car in a professional way for 2 or 3 shifts per day, you do not have time for charging. And to take new energy in a hydrogen car, it takes you 5 minutes. You go to a gas station where you get hydrogen. In Berlin we have 5. In the whole Republic of Germany we have 100. And it takes you not more than 5 minutes. And you have the power in your car for the next 500 kilometers. And this is the advantage for heavy users, that we do not need to take out the cars of transportation or productivity. No, we send the driver to the gas station. The driver gets within 5 minutes full energy for 500 kilometers and continues driving. So I really can say, and I'm very, very thank you for this invitation here. I am 100% convinced that this technology is perfect for heavy using cars, even for smaller cars.
This is the ending of this panel. Like, was like a statement. We're good now. No, it's amazing, and of course you need the cars to drive, and Toyota are producing them, and the history is really strong as well in the hybrid space, I would say. What is your perspective? Where this goes in the OEM side, and as well, we can already buy hydrogen cars, but what is maybe missing that the numbers getting higher?
Well, I think missing, first of all, maybe short overview, because everyone thinks there's a fight between battery electric vehicles and fuel cell cars or hydrogen cars. I think they are complementary, because we need both. And for the smaller city usage and also for mid durations, for sure, battery electric vehicles are far better to be used than a hydrogen car. Hydrogen cars are still very big due to the tank situation. You need really big tanks. So it will be very difficult to come to a C segment like a Volkswagen Golf with a hydrogen car. But I always like to say, I love to drive, but I hate to wait. And I think Thomas already mentioned it.
I hate to wait.
Yeah. So I do not have the need to stop all 300 kilometers and wait for 20, 30, 40 minutes. And for heavy users like taxi business, like also long drive times, hydrogen is, what I think at least, the better situation. And I think that's also reflecting the positioning and the strategy of Toyota. Our credo is to leave no one behind and to create mobility for all. And if you really reflect this, you have different demands in different regions and from different drivers. And so therefore we think we need a diverse drivetrain concept, like we have had in the past. We have had diesel engines for long periods of driving, and we have petrol engines, most probably for the more sporty part. And I think this will be also the future for hydrogen and battery electric vehicles. So it's a side-by-side. But as soon as it comes to heavy usage, as soon as it comes to even light commercial vehicles, to trucks, there will be, out of my perspective, the better solution will be hydrogen. And the good thing of hydrogen is you can utilize it for trucks, you can utilize for buses, you can utilize for ships, for planes, for everything. So all mobile applications can be run by hydrogen. Yeah, so we have plenty of products, we have plenty of solutions. We are developing a train with hydrogen together with a company in Spain. And so what is quite interesting, especially also with hydrogen, but it's also in the battery electric vehicles, that you see a merge of various and different industries. So in former days, we just produced cars. Now we are thinking about ecosystems and how to build them, how to create new ideas of corporations. And one of the very visible outcomes you see here on the stage.
This is true. And if I'm now wanted to buy a hydrogen car, I can...
More than welcome.
Okay.
Just call him.
Yeah, call me and I
Gives you a good
Do we get
price.
discount?
No problem at all. You will get it.
Nice. And how's the infrastructure around it?
Well, I think Germany is really perfectly fine. I drive approximately between 20,000 and 25,000 kilometers a year here in Germany. The problem are the neighboring countries. You can perfectly drive in Switzerland, you can perfectly drive in the Netherlands, in Belgium, but as soon as it comes to the southern countries like Italy, like France, like Spain, because to travel to Spain you have to cross France, and this is a major problem, then you are out of the business. But I think there we have a good solution already in place, but it will take, of course, the next 2 to 3 years. There's a decision of the European government to have along the 10T corridors, these are the most frequented streets in Europe, infrastructure of hydrogen all 150 kilometers. And with this, you are completely fine. Plus, of course, in the bigger cities, that's also in the regulation. So this, of course, enables everyone to have a hydrogen car, not only in a city like Berlin with 5 filling stations, but also for your personal purpose, also for driving to your vacation in Spain or somewhere else.
Benny, I think 2 of your colleagues actually came from London. I don't know where they are.
Yeah, exactly. Where are they? Here. One is here. One is there.
Yeah.
Nice.
They split now up. Huh?
And you made it.
They split up because they spent 12 hours together in the car. Now they don't talk to each other anymore. So I have a very challenging team meeting ahead in London next week. But no, they drove from London to Berlin without any problems. So they drove from London, went on the ferry, obviously, because the Mirai on the water is not so good.
It cannot swim.
And then, drove to Belgium, filled up there, drove to Holland a little bit, and in Germany, and then to Berlin. And it already works pretty well. And as you said, Southern Europe is a bit slower to adapt it, but it will come. 8 years ago, like we are talking now about hydrogen, we were talking about electric cars. It was exactly the same. Oh, this is crazy, this is expensive, you cannot charge, blah, 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 blah. And this will come. It will come. It needs time, and the infrastructure will come. And as you said, with heavy duty trucks, along these big freight corridors, which are mainly going north-south in Europe, it will start there. And once you have the stations there for the trucks, you can have ecosystems with fleet and things around it.
So this is really an important part to really get the infrastructure running through like the other way, and then long-term as usual customers.
Yeah, but you need much less hydrogen refueling stations than you need electric charging points. Right, because so electric charging points basically you need in every parking spot almost to charge at night. So that you need many more of them to have a really complete coverage.
And you're from Anglo America. You started the initiative here, of course, but I think there's a lot of other things you're doing in this direction, not only in hydrogen, but as well in the whole supply chain to make a sustainable transportation, right?
Well, yeah, listen, we're not only talking about it, we're also doing it ourselves. So a mine, there's 2 types of mines for those who don't know anything about mining, which is all of you, I guess. So you either have a shaft where you have to go very deep, or you have an open pit, you know. And if you have an open pit, you have these huge trucks trucks that drive around. Maybe you have seen them, you should Google them, it's incredible. So the wheel would probably be the bottom here, and the top of the tire would be against the ceiling. They're huge. They are 510 tons, and they bring this stuff out. So we have diesel electric, they're diesel electric now, and we are changing them to fuel cell electric. So, and we make the hydrogen at our site ourselves, because in South Africa you have a lot of sun, obviously, and wind, and we make green electricity, and we produce the hydrogen out of water ourselves that then drive the truck. So this is actually, we have one like this now, but the idea is to have more, the largest fuel cell vehicle in the world. So it's 510 tons. It's like when you see a full truck, here the big LKWs on the highway, you take 13 of them, that's one of our babies, right? So that's just gives you a little scale of what these things are. You should Google them. That's actually pretty cool. I wish we would have one here to drive. Nobody else would look at any other car. Everybody would be growing up to them. But
and there's a space outside, actually. Next year.
Okay.
Maybe from Africa back to Berlin. The project is right now, project sounds so small, but what you guys are doing is now running here in Berlin. What are the plans? Like, should it go to other cities, international, especially with the infrastructure, what you say with French? What are the next plans? I think it's 2 years now for here planned. What is the development plan? Whoever would like to reply.
Well, listen, our interest is very clearly to go wider with this. We picked Germany because Germany is probably in the world, together with California, the most developed in terms of hydrogen refueling stations coverage. There's 100 and growing in Germany. And then we pick Berlin because it's the capital. There's 5 stations here, and you can have a lot of media attention. There's a lot of journalistic activities here. But if this is successful, which I assume it will be, we would like to go to other cities in Germany. There's interesting clusters. There was Hamburg, and there's many others where we can look at. We would like to extend in the EU as well. And my team, we're discussing right now with China. Don't count the Chinese out. The Chinese OEMs are very advanced with battery electric vehicles. If you think they're behind, think again, look. And they are going to be ahead with fuel cell, or they're going to be at the front with fuel cell vehicles as well. There's already 4 OEMs that are making fuel cell passenger cars right now in China. And there is interesting opportunities as well. So we're working there, and then we're looking in the US as well. So we would like that to become a global initiative.
So really going from a pilot here to scale it then globally.
Correct.
Great. That I'm not saying it wrong, but Thomas here, German aims to be a 6-figure number of hydrogen cars for 2030. What do you think in this direction? Are we on a good way for the implementation? What maybe we need to achieve this target?
First, we need to buy hydrogen electric vehicles, and we are in a good way because our cluster just got a new one, an additional one, so one more, 2,637 now in Germany. So we have hydrogen cars already, but coming to 6-digit numbers, it's quite a long way to go. What we need, of course, is infrastructure. What I hear when I go have my lectures on these panels, I hear a lot of questions about where's the next filling station. I would buy a hydrogen vehicle if I could, if I had a hydrogen filling station 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers away. I myself have to fill my Mirai 35 kilometers away, so while I'm traveling a lot through Germany, it's not a problem because each 100 kilometers nowadays you roundabout find a hydrogen filling station, but for the short running around, for all days usage of your car, it's still planning. You need some planning, where to go and where to refill your car. So we need infrastructure, an increase of hydrogen filling stations. We know studies from 10, 15 years ago where it was calculated that we would need around about €1 billion to implement 1,000 hydrogen filling stations in Germany. And if you think about some other money that is going away for some different issues, €1 billion is not such a big number. And we only need this 1,000 refilling stations, and then we have everywhere in Germany a circle of, let's say, 30 kilometers where you can refill your car. So that would be enough for the first phase for 1 million vehicles, for example. But as long as we don't have these refilling stations, remember a good example from the past is perhaps the mobile net. we wouldn't have any mobile phones nowadays if Nokia in the early 2000s wouldn't have built up an infrastructure, a network 5 years ahead the rollout of mobile phones. So that is also needed for hydrogen infrastructure. We need a pipeline net. By the way, a pipeline net, a hydrogen backbone net, is to be installed all over Europe up to 2040. So we're also there in a good way. We will see some new hydrogen pipelines. Some older gas pipelines can be used. If you talk to gas suppliers, they announced that some pipelines can be reused also for hydrogen. They are hydrogen ready already. And you can transport through pipelines a lot more of power than you can transport it in an electric way. More than 10 times. 10 gigawatts can be transported through a very typical pipeline, while below 1 gigawatt can be transported by a high voltage line. So that's the difference. You can, again, store hydrogen and transport it, and that is what we need. We need this infrastructure, we need the filling stations, and then I'm absolutely, I would say the number of cars will increase because a lot of people after these lectures ask me, when we have these hydrogen filling stations, I would buy a car instantly. Definitely, because for me, for my specific application, it's better than a pure electric car because of all the advantages we heard about.
And above you said you have a second message, especially we have younger people in the audience.
On the panel too.
And the panel, of course, well. You had a different message up there. However, that everyone has a really cool opportunity as well in the hydrogen sector, like in research, in the development part, because there's so much things to do. And I think a space really to develop and get the food in really early, right?
Absolutely. We, of course, that's not a secret. All over Germany, we're looking for new talented students. We give the opportunity to study some hydrogen technology study course that might be very interesting for some of you in the future. Some other universities also do. We're not the only one, but Chemnitz is an area where we build up the Hydrogen Innovation Center in Germany. We're a good location for young people. It's quite cheap to live. That's also an advantage. A bit advertising, sorry for that. As said, other universities also very well for that. But that's an opportunity for the future.
You didn't talk about this before, but good advertising. But now we have here the value chain and partnerships, and one thing I wanted to check in as well, how do you see like the public, private sector to come together in the whole topic? What role do you see here? Maybe Thomas again, or someone else has a comment.
I think public-private partnerships are very, very important. You might know that also the build-up of the first hydrogen filling stations in Germany was also a public-private partnership. 2006, I think, there was a memorandum of understanding between big companies. I'm not really sure if Anglo American was involved those days, but Daimler, Linde, Shell, Total, they built a consortium and put together a public-private partnership to solve this chicken egg problem, to first install some hydrogen filling stations so that the number of cars could increase. So from my point of view, public-private partnerships are very, very important.
Yeah, we are practicing that already. For example, in South Africa, we do that. We call it a hydrogen valley. So our mines are not at the coast, they're a little bit inland. So there we mine this now with these hydrogen electric trucks. And then you have to transport it to the ports where it goes on the ships, and then it goes away and being transported from all our different mines. And there also we work together with the South African government who co-sponsors hydrogen stations, etc. We have trucks that will drive on hydrogen. We're talking to OEMs, etc. So this becomes really like an ecosystem. So it's not just one company doing one thing. It all has to fit together, and the government, of course, can play quite a decisive or an important role in there. Yeah.
I think by introducing a new technology, you always need support from the government. Yeah. But I think what is important is that you need support, but ideally no regulation. Yeah. And if you have a regulation, then please equal treatment. Because what Thomas said, 1 billion euro for 1,000 stations. We have foreseen more than 2 billion euro for private charging infrastructure. And I think up to now invested less than 400 million euro for less than 50 million euro for the filling stations in Germany of hydrogen. So if regulation, then please at least a little bit more equal treatment.
And as well, everybody needs to understand that there's no need only to prepare something. There's a big need to leave comfort zone, means to use the new technology, to try it out. And we have a chance here in this GreenTech Festival to explore a new technology. We have 4 cars outside, the driving experience, where everybody can drive as long as you have a driving license. You may drive one of the Mirai cars from Toyota with hydrogen technology inside. And if you are living in Berlin or you will say later go out, then with Uber app you can ask for a hydrogen car as well, because we have a fleet of almost 130 cars here in Berlin right now, and so you can experience how it works. What I want to say with comfort zone, please give me the chance to mention it. Whenever you talk about new technology, even battery electric or hydrogen cars, people will say, yeah, it is so difficult to find a gas station, it is far away, there are not so many, there are reasons not to invest, not to buy a car like this. That's what I want to say. Let us leave the comfort zone. It is necessary to move now and to do something different. And as more cars driven by hydrogen technology are on the streets, the more gas stations we will have and the better it is. Who does never want to have a hydrogen or battery electric car will probably wait for another 20 years. But here is, I see, young generation. So try to convince your family, your friends and your network just to invest in new technology, because technology does not fall out of sky. We need to invest and we have to use it. And this is what I wanted to say to you. We try it in my company, and I'm not the youngest here, it's my friend Benny. I'm not the youngest here on this stage, and I decided to do it for my company because I'm convinced it is necessary to move now.
And this is amazing. Like, let's give a hand for this. And yeah, innovation is out of the comfort zone. Going in the sustainable direction is like maybe a step out of the usual routine we have. And at the end, it's actually much more fun if you leave your comfort zone and discover new spaces. If the clock goes well, and thank you. Actually, I found a clock over there as well. Before we may be ending with our closing questions, I would like to open to you guys. Anything you would like to know?
Hello, I'm a student from Politecnico di Milano. My name is Giacomo. And what I would like to ask is, at the moment, hydrogen is not all green. So we have a lot of gray hydrogen that is circulating around the streets, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I would like to know more about it, because I think we need to invest a lot more money on renewable before having also an affordable green hydrogen, because it costs a lot more. And the second question is also about ICE, so internal combustion engines, hydrogen cars or vehicles, because it's true that fuel cells maybe are more efficient, etc., but at the same time they require like an hydrogen that is pure at, I think, 99%, while internal combustion engines with hydrogen, it doesn't require so, I would say, yes, good hydrogen. And so I would like to know more about it, because like I'm working on a project, and they asked us also to try to see other alternatives to just fuel cells.
Yeah, I'll quickly take that one. Listen, yeah, you're right. So a lot of hydrogen, most of the hydrogen in the world right now is not green hydrogen, right? But also most electricity in the world right now is not green electricity. So the electrons that are coming to these lamps and making me and us shine so bright are not green. Huh? They're not 100% green. The German electricity production is not 100% green. And it's shifting towards that. And hydrogen is the same, right? So green hydrogen will become the norm, but at this moment, it is still cheaper to produce non-green hydrogen, as it is cheaper in many countries to produce electricity with a lot of CO2 emission versus green. So, but this is shifting, right?
But maybe green hydrogen. Yes, of course, it's maybe. From time to time, it's already cheaper than produce green hydrogen to take grey one.
Depends on the
because
electricity.
if you look to, for instance, in the German situation, we have the classical filling stations of H2 Mobility, but there are also competitors, like for instance in the north of Germany, where we have a company called GP Joule. They produce pure green hydrogen. They put this green hydrogen to the filling station and they sell it for €2 to €3 below the price of H2 Mobility. So there you have, and they do not do it for fun. Yeah, so it's a business model for them. And I think this is, it's quite easy to get the scale effect if you focus on this topic. And I think the second interesting part is we can import green hydrogen much easier and for much cheaper than to import green electricity. So it's about the factor 10 to 12. It's cheaper to import green hydrogen. And of course, the mega asset of hydrogen, and I think you can confirm this far better than I do, is that you can store it. Yeah, you have it available the entire day, not only when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing, you have it every time, during nighttime, during daytime, every time.
Yeah, and hydrogen will get cheaper because it will be used not only in transport. Hydrogen is coming to town. So you're going to have it big time in cement production. You're going to have it in green steel production. And that all has to be green hydrogen. And there's a massive infrastructure build up right now to produce green hydrogen. And with the scale effect, it's like everything. With scale come cost efficiencies and the cost, it will slide down on the cost curve. Sorry, you want?
It's not a question of first or second. Because the question also tended in the direction if we should not first discover and ramp up all the electrolyzers until it's green and then invest in and develop some applications for that. Because you need a parallel ramp up. As soon as you have green hydrogen in large amounts, and there are some studies that say we can cover around about the demand of energy that is 600 exajoules nowadays, that we can cover it by green hydrogen if we would really ramp up electrolyzers all over the world, especially in the regions with high solar radiation. That would be manageable, that costs a lot of money and that costs time, but we should also, and we must also, ramp up the applications, because as soon as we have all the green hydrogen, the next question is, where's the application? It's not there, then we don't need it, and then it goes down again. So we need, and that needs for around about 20 or 30 years to develop these applications. So we must ramp it up in parallel. That's very, very important. And as long as we nowadays only have, for example, grey hydrogen. I heard a lecture from Linde a few days ago. They told me, yeah, most of our hydrogen we sell nowadays is still grey, definitely, because we have these big plants already. Yeah, they are standing here at Leuna, for example, for 30, 40 years when we produce hydrogen 24/7 and we sell it. And what if we now want to go to green technologies, to fuel cell cars, to fuel cell vehicles, to fuel cell burners in houses, and we don't have the hydrogen? Will they wait for green hydrogen? But we need the application. So it's a very good pathway towards CO2 reducing CO2 reduction. Perhaps not the best solution. The best solution is still then when we come at the end to pure green hydrogen. But the transition phase towards these scenario is so important. And from my point of view, we should use all the energy already in that direction that we already have. That's really important to reach this goal.
So we're on a journey. And we're developing.
Definitely.
And for everybody who don't speak English, the Henne-Ei problem is, I think, a big thing here. Any other questions from the audience? One, sorry, I think we're a little bit out of time now, but one more question.
I will make a quick, just a quick question about your taxi company. Did you choose to switch to hydrogen just because you believe in it, or is it in your case actually profitable, or like from a pricing point, does it make sense?
Good question.
The pricing issue is important as well. And if you compare, let me say, a gasoline car with actually the driven hydrogen car, it is per kilometer the same price. Exactly the same price. The price for battery electric cars, means charging at charging stations, can be higher since we have this Ukraine war, but actually situation is gasoline and hydrogen is on the same level. Battery electric cars taking from the network, electricity network, is a bit higher.
Then I would like to finish this round with one last question. And if you would have one wish to unlock the potential for hydrogen, what would it be?
More different cars.
Benny?
More different fueling stations. Now it gets difficult.
Don't repeat.
Equal treatment if there's governmental regulation.
Even more wishes to ramp up the hydrogen infrastructure and all these issues. I think, I would have the wish that we are open-minded towards any technology as long as the aim is to have zero CO2 and a nice climate in 2050, 2100. That has to be our goal, definitely.
This is our goal. So, Ferry, Thomas, Benny, Thomas, thank you so much for the round. Thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful day.